was 12 years old and spending the night at my friend's house in the southwest. She had a Ouija board and suggested that we play with it. I was intrigued, so I agreed. We contacted the spirit almost immediately and asked what its name was. It obliged and told us his name was Ray. We asked a few questions and then got sleepy, so we went to bed. I do not recall if we said goodbye or not. My guess is no. The session did not strike me as odd, and I never discussed it with anyone, as it probably would have been frowned upon by many religious friends for tampering with such a toy. Then, 3 years later, I was at a different friend's 15th birthday sleepover, and one of her guests brought a Ouija board. The girls set it up, lit candles, and began a session. I did not want to touch the planchette, as I did not believe that the Ouija board was for real, but I did help ask questions. They were able to contact a spirit right away, and I asked what its name was. The girl spelled out R-A-Y. I went silent and white as a ghost. I felt shivers run up and down my spine. Had I mentioned the incident to one of these girls? Were they trying to scare me? No. I had not said anything to any of them, and it was clear to me that this was not just a game. I slowly regained my voice and told the girls to ask if he knew me, and he said yes. I thought we should ask some more constructive questions to ease my fears, and we asked who the next president of the USA would be, and before the planchette could move, all the candles in the room blew out and the balloon popped on the floor. Everyone screamed and ran out to the backyard. I had tears in my eyes, and I felt beside myself. We could not imagine why the spirit would do such a nasty thing, and I told the girls then that I had spoke to him before, and he was pleasant. This made my friends even more scared, which I did not want to do. We gathered our wits and went inside. We put away the board and looked for what could have possibly made the balloon pop and candles extinguish. There was nothing to account for the strange happenings. My friends and I never really spoke of the event again, as it gave us all the willies, and if our parents knew, they would be upset. 5 years later, and I am in the Midwest telling ghost stories on a stormy night, sitting in a screened-in porch with nothing but candles for light, as the electricity had failed. The tales wander on to the topic of Ouija boards. After my friends told their equally, if not mere, eerie Ouija board stories, I offered to tell mine, but that I had never told anyone for fear that the spirit was following me. As I uttered these very words, a huge clap of thunder rang out, followed by a flash of lightning and a gust of wind. Every candle on the porch went out, except for one, the one sitting on the ledge and seemingly most susceptible to the wind, the one directly behind my head. I screamed in realization of what had just happened and simultaneously leaped into the lap of my friend, bawling like a little baby. Even my friends could not believe their own eyes. I did end up telling them my story, and each time I do it, it gets easier and I get less frightened. I can say this though, I will never again touch a Ouija board. I've since experienced ghostly encounters, but I just tell myself it's good old Ray saying hello. Thanks for reading. When I was 12 years old, my friend Dylan and I were having a sleepover at my house. I was babysitting my 8-year-old sister Stacy. Dylan and I were downstairs, where some rather odd things have been happening, and Stacy was upstairs in my parents' bedroom watching television with the door closed. I told her Dylan and I were going to go downstairs for a little bit, and that she shouldn't come down or turn on any lights, since we were using the Ouija board and wanted the best results. We set up for everything and turned off all the lights and lit a candle. The Ouija board was set out in front of us, and we were on either side. For a few moments, we just sat there and waited with our fingers on the planchette. There was a soft knock in the bathroom, only about 15 feet away, so I asked if there was a spirit present. The planchette moved to yes. Dylan and I started talking to it, and then there was something blowing on the candle. Dylan held her breath, as did I. The candle flame still blew. There was a loud crash in the bathroom, and Dylan and I were getting both really freaked out. We both decided to go upstairs for a while to decide what to do next. I blew out the candle and went upstairs. We went downstairs once again to try to get this entity to go away. The doors were all closed and the candle was lit. I was getting very scared now. From what I knew about ghosts and spirits, they couldn't do anything physical except close and shut doors and make noises. I knew that the spirit had to be evil, which this nameless one was, and very powerful to affect the living world. Dylan started to talk to it. The entity didn't like me and wouldn't answer to my questions. The entity said it died of torture, so Dylan used that against it. The entity left, and the house was still. Both of us turned on all the lights in the house we possibly could, except the downstairs bathroom, and decided to do a house blessing. Neither of us goes to the local church, so we couldn't get the minister there to do a blessing, so I did it. What we did take was purified water and my mother's rosary and put them in a glass container for 21 minutes. After that, I put on my cross and went into every room of the house and said a prayer while putting holy water in the shape of a cross. The house then had been purified and had a peaceful feeling, and nothing like that ever happened again. Thanks for reading. I'd always wanted a Ouija board, even after reading a lot of stuff on the net about how dangerous they are. I guess the fact that I'm into all aspects of the paranormal field made me want one even more. My parents bought me one for Christmas, and much to my delight, they agreed to play with the board one night. We asked it random questions which I cannot remember, but the one thing that stuck out vividly in my mind, and still does to this day, is the board telling us that my father will die due to a massive heart attack. We all looked at each other and thought, yeah right, this board is just a game, nothing will happen like it said it would. We continued to mess around with the board for 30 minutes longer, and then went to bed laughing at what we were told by the board. Oh, I forgot to mention one very important thing. The person that we contacted that night said he was the devil. Anyway, the next day, we woke up and started our day like normal and all was well. My father was fine, as was my mother. A little bit later, my mother and father informed me that they were going to go grocery shopping and they left only to return with some very disturbing news that I overheard them talking about. When they were shopping, my dad was overcome by chest pains bad enough for him to be seen by the doctor the next day. Now, I know what you're thinking. He should have went to see the doctor when it happened, but he is a very stubborn man. The doctor told him that he had a very mild heart episode, not quite a heart attack, but not too damn far from one either. I got rid of that board immediately when I found out what had happened. You might be a skeptic, but the board did exactly what it told us would happen, and the next day, after messing with the board, it did happen. I will never touch a Ouija board again, but the scary thing is, I had a severely strong urge to make my own, and I keep fighting that urge because of what happened to my father 3 years ago. If you don't think that playing with a Ouija board is dangerous, think again. Thanks for reading. My name is Marine, and I'm from Australia, and this is my story. One night, when I was about 11, my brother who was 12 had a friend come and stay at our place. Our house was not haunted, so it's hard to know why or how this happened. But my brother had a friend who found a Ouija board and decided to play with it, but would not let me join in, so I just sat and watched. At first, I was convinced it was all rubbish, that they were moving it when they started talking to a man who called himself the Watcher, who spelled out words like hell and death, and other not so very nice words. To say the least, I was scared. I thought my heart was going to beat right out of my chest. Everyone but us three were out that night, and my brother and his friends started to get scared, but would not leave well enough alone. The planchette flew across the room, and the candle started to flicker wildly when there was no wind or breeze from anywhere because all the doors and windows were shut and locked tightly because we were home alone. The curtains started to raise as though there was a major breeze. The door to my mom's room down the hall slammed shut, and our lounge room light shattered, and we heard a young woman scream a blood-curdling scream, yet there was no one but my brother and his friend, and to this day, when we discuss it, we have no explanation to what we saw or what happened. We didn't even ever tell my mom. She would have gotten so mad, and to this day, none of us have ever played this dangerous and unknown game again. Thanks for reading. My best friend Kayla and I decided to get a Ouija board to see if it really worked. I wasn't that positive that it did, but she knew that it did. Kayla and I were trying to get it to work for hours and it never did, so we decided to do it elsewhere, but not in the bathroom. So we went into the living room, and finally it happened. We encountered spirit. At first, I thought it was Kayla, but then I knew it wasn't. I heard a knock on the door, and I just thought it was someone for her sister or something. I looked out the door, and all I saw was a car outside. So, I sat down. A few minutes later, we tried it again. It said its name was Karen, and I just thought Kayla was trying to scare me, so I went along with it. 2 minutes later, the back door swung open, and I saw a black figure run up the stairs. I know it wasn't Kayla and everyone was sleeping at their house. I started to freak out. After that, I heard heavy footsteps upstairs, and I started to yell. Then it was completely quiet. I got up to get on the couch, and all of a sudden, it sounded like shooting. I got under the blanket and started to pray. After I got out of the blanket, I looked in the kitchen, and I saw someone staring at me. It was like I did something wrong. I started to get tears in my eyes, and Kayla was just so calm. Kayla went upstairs. I told her to be careful, and when she got halfway up the stairs, she screamed. I ran outside. When she got outside, she was bleeding, but she didn't know. I asked her if she tripped on anything, and she said no. I took a closer look at it, and it looked like a knife went into her leg. I had enough of it. I went inside thinking I was going to be all big, bad, and tough, and all of a sudden, it was like I passed out for a few seconds. I saw someone standing in front of me with a nasty look on its face, so I closed my eyes, and it was slowly fading away when I opened them. But the rest of the night, it was still there when I opened my eyes. Till this day, Kayla and I will always sleep with the lights on. Thanks for reading. My story started when a friend and I went on holiday for a few days to the south of England, which is supposed to be riddled with witchcraft and the like, especially in Dartmoor. We stopped in a hotel late into the evening. We got bored and went downstairs to the bar, where 2 staff members were sitting after their shifts. They were talking about ghost stories, and then we decided to play the Ouija from the letters from a Scrabble board, and we used an Untitled wine glass for the planchette. The glass started to move, and everyone thought each other was moving it, so the 2 staff got up and left Marie and myself to still playing it. It spelled out that it was her granddad, then it said Billy Loves, which was her boyfriend. She kept asking me if I was moving it, but I wasn't. I asked if it could give us proof it was working, and it spelled out Goss, which turned out to be one of the staff's surname. When we said Goss, he heard and came over, and it spelled it out again. We have never met this guy before. We also asked if there was a god, and the glass kept making figure of 8 shapes. A few weeks later after this event, something tried to possess me one night as I was climbing into bed. Something hit me in the back, but I couldn't tell it wasn't human. This happened 3 times over a period of about 1 minute. Each time, it winded the hell out of me. I prayed to God to save me, and then it went. I've never messed around with the paranormal since, and I thank you for reading. I was about 16 at the time. About 10 of us from our church choir decided to gather at one of the group's house and hang out after choir practice one night because he would be alone at night and the rest of the family would be visiting relatives. We talked about it at practice, and our conversation was overheard by some members that we didn't want to join our gathering, but we didn't want to hurt their feelings either. Steve, the son of the homeowner, talked to one of the groups to leave early, then call and pretend to be the father, stating they were coming home early. We would all leave, then come back, and the unwanted guest would not be the wiser. The plan was put into effect and it worked like a charm. The invited group returned in a few minutes, and we sat around listening to music and cracking jokes. We decided to lock the doors and turn off most of the lights, just in case the unwanted guests returned. I locked the front door myself. One of the groups found a Ouija board in the closet, and we started to play with it. There were 7 boys and 3 girls in the groups, and at first, 2 boys started playing with the Ouija board. Nothing much happened, and they gave up. I picked it up and was just looking at it when one of the girls asked if I wanted to try it with her. We did, and almost immediately, the pointer started moving and answering our usual kid questions, like, what color is so-and-so panties, and who's going to die first, that type of question. By the time the whole gang was hovering around us, each wanted to ask us their questions. About this time, the house phone rang, and we all got quiet because we thought it might be Steve's parents. This was long before caller ID, so we had no way to know who was on the other end. Steve answered the phone, and he got a peculiar look on his face and hung up. When he asked who it was, he said that he didn't know, and all they said was, "You'd better stop what you're doing." We figured it was one of the unwanted, and they were trying to make us feel bad for what we did to them. We shrugged it off and continued on our merry way, asking our questions of the Ouija. Next, the questions became a little more sinister. We asked who was on the phone, and it gave us some initials, I think, of someone we didn't know. We asked if there were any ghost presence, and it answered yes. About that time, all the power in the house went out. After searching for a bit, we discovered the main breaker had been turned off. Not tripped, as would happen with the overload, but turned off. Again, we thought it was one of us playing a trick on the rest of us, so we continued. Shortly after returning to the board, the person that left early to call and pretend he was Steve's father walked in the front door. He scared the hound out of us. We all kind of chuckled nervously, and then he asked who was standing outside the door when he pulled into the drive. None of us had been outside, and that reminded me that I had locked the front door. He said it was standing half open, and there was a man about halfway in when he pulled up and he got out of his car. They were gone. Well, the phone rang at that time, and again we all got quiet. Steve answered, and about at the time he got the phone to his ear, we could all hear a gruff, deep voice coming from the receiver. Steve slammed the phone down and jumped, and I do mean jumped backward about 10 feet. He looked like he was scared to death and shaking as if he were freezing. He said the voice screamed, "Stop what you're doing right now." Well, these events kind of shook us all up, and we decided to heed the warning, at least for a few minutes. The girl and I started using the board again, but this time, there was a sense of dread in me. Before, I was having fun, but now it felt as though I knew something bad would happen, and sure enough it did. Joan, the girl I was on the board with, asked the question about the presence of evil. I don't remember exactly how she worded it, but the pointer started moving wildly around the board. Joan let out a scream and took her fingers off the pointer and covered her face as the pointer continued to dart from one side of the board to the other. I took my fingers off, and the pointer made 3 more trips across the board before stopping. I mean, that thing went from one side to the other, stopping briefly, and went back to the other side all by itself. It might have been trying to spell something, but it didn't stop long enough on any letter or number to be able to read what was beneath. By this time, everyone was freaking out. The girls left and went to their respective homes. All the boys stayed overnight, but none of us slept because we were hearing voices, bumps, groans, and furniture moving around in the house. We all went into the living room. The sight of our night's activities discovered the whole living room furniture was rearranged. Steve got mad thinking it was one of us, and when we convinced him it wasn't, we put everything back where it was before. Almost the time I got into bed, I heard it again and ran into the living room to catch whoever was doing it. As I got into the living room, I saw the sofa sliding across the floor with no one around it. It didn't move far, only a few feet, but it stopped. I turned around and went back to bed. We heard those noises go on almost all night. The next day, the furniture had been rearranged again. All of the dishes and drinking glasses were sitting out on the counters. We left, and Steve went with us, afraid to stay there by himself. When his parents returned later that day, he went home. He says he didn't tell his parents about the incident, and they never happened again. Thanks for reading. I was at my friend Alyssa's house. We were in the attic looking for a board game. That's when we found the Ouija board, so we put it in our room and saved it to play at midnight when no one was awake. So it's midnight now, and we take out the Ouija board. Alyssa warned me that this is scary shit, so I thought it can't be that scary, it's a game. When we started to play it, we asked the ghost's name, and it spelled out Anne. I just thought it was an illusion or some trick, so I didn't think it was a big deal or amazing. The little piece that you used to spell out the words was slowly spinning, and at the time, the lights in the room were getting dim, then really, really bright. I didn't care about that either. I thought it was some electrical problem. Then the big mirror in the room was banging against the wall constantly, and the Ouija board started moving up and down on the floor. Alyssa looked frightened. I knew at that point Alyssa wasn't doing this. Outside of her door, we all heard weird beeping sounds, and we didn't want to check because we were too scared to death. Then I picked up the Ouija board and threw it at the wall. But when I threw it at the wall, I felt a cold chill went up my spine. Then suddenly, everything stopped. About a month later, we went to my house and did the same thing. It was the same ghost named Anne, and when we were playing, my lights were dimming, then getting really, really bright, and the TV in my room was on, but it was on mute, and suddenly the volume on my TV turned really loud. Then a pillow on my head just randomly flew off and landed right in front of Alyssa. Again, I threw the Ouija board at the wall and everything stopped. After those 2 experiences, I never even touched or looked at a Ouija board again. If you're thinking about playing with the Ouija board, you'd better be in for some serious and scary shit. I'm not kidding you. Thanks for reading. About 13 years ago, myself and 5 friends thought it would be fun to play about making our own Ouija board game, stupidly. We wrote out the letters of the alphabet, 0 through 9, good, evil, yes and no, and bye on pieces of paper, then placed them on a table in my friend's living room with an upturned glass. We lit a candle and proceeded to attempt to contact someone. After a few failed attempts, someone or something responded at first. We thought someone was pushing the glass until we asked for a relative to come through. Well, my mate Barry thought it was a relative of his and began asking questions only he would know, to which the correct answer came through. All well and good, or so we thought. All of a sudden, the glass starts getting faster and we asked for it to go to bye. It went to no. We asked if it was still Barry's relative, and the glass again went to no. When asked who it is, the name simply spelled devil. Okay, who is the Joker? By the look on everyone's face, it was none of them. Being the big clever 17-year-olds we were, we started to try and make it angry by asking stupid questions. It worked. The glass started going mad round and round and flew off the table straight into poor Darren's lap. Well, we all jumped up. Poor Darren went to the toilet for about an hour. The next night, we thought it was a good idea to do it again. We had some new guests, my cousin and her friend. Reluctantly, Darren joined in again. I decided I would take notes. We began with the usual, is anybody there, but no one answered, so my cousin suggested collecting our deceased granddad. So we called for him, and we believe he came through great again. Only asked questions myself or my cousin could now. Neither of us were touching the glass. Again, correct answers. The glass went to bye when asked, so we began again. This time, a spirit came through. We asked, are you good or evil? Straight to evil. It started to say things like you're all going to die. Leave now. Same old stuff. Until it has a message for all who were there the night before. It simply spelled out cursed. Oh joy. No sooner did it say that the flame on the candle bent over than went back up straight. Needless to say, we ended it there. Since that night, I've not touched a Ouija board, and now I know they are dangerous. As for being cursed, I'm not sure my luck isn't that good, but it could be worse. Darren's house had a lot of strange things happen since then. A big black shadow has been seen many times passing the window, and electrical goods turn on and off on their own. Thanks for reading. Hello, Phantoms. This is Phantom of Darkness, and I'm reporting for duty. Here to send you another narration for your enjoyment. I've got the latest installment, the Ouija board extravaganza. Everybody give applause for the Phantom of Darkness for narrating this. It's redundant. I just did the subject not too long ago. But seriously, guys, I feel like I needed to do this subject because I got so into Ouija boards, so I decided, you know what? I'll do another Ouija board story for you guys, because who doesn't like Ouija board stories? I know Pumpkin Joanne loves them, so this is for you. And for everybody who loves Ouija boards. I love Pumpkin too, but like, you know, the whole point is you guys better like, share, subscribe, and do anything that makes it happy. Because Phantom Claus is coming to town. He's making a narration. He's checking it twice. He's trying to find which stories are naughty or nice. He's going to read the only naughty ones, and he's going to have the dogs barking in the background. That's what he's going to do. But seriously, guys, go ahead and reach out to me and share, like, comment, and subscribe. And if I say that in order, see, like, I feel like I'm singing a song when I do that, though, when I go, like, share, like, comment, and subscribe. Share, like, comment, and subscribe. Sing it with me. Share, like, comment, and subscribe. Yo, I shared, I liked, I comment, and I subscribed. That's gonna be a new rap in the future, guys, especially with me. So, you know, a dead phantom ghost singing a rap song called Share, Like, Comment, and Subscribe, yo. That's what we're going to do. We're going to share, then we're going to like, and then we're going to subscribe. If you're already subscribed again, then you're going to like again. Anyway, guys, now I'm going to head out now. It's getting pretty late, almost my bedtime, and I need to go to sleep soon. So, you know, I'm not really need to go to sleep. You know, this is pre-recorded, so, you know, I'm just going to hug you guys and just leave. But seriously, guys, you know how much I love you. So, all I'm going to say now is good night, good morning. And I will definitely see you in the next video. Because if I don't see you in the next video, that's kind of weird. Well, I want to see you in the next video. Here's the thing. I want to see you in the next video, but I can't see you in the next video because you can't actually appear to me. I can't even hear you. You're the only one who can hear me. So all I have to ask to know if you exist is just, you know, comment below. Okay. Good night, good morning, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.